who doesn't know and doesn't know they don't know, is a horrible thing. And yeah, how many times do we find ourselves in that space that we just don't know that we don't know? And I think that's what you've done to us, Allan and Isabella, helping us to know some truths we did not even know exist. Sorry for that. Yeah, so thank you. We really must thank you for giving us that opportunity and offering yourself to share this knowledge with us. I do not want to take it to go further than that. Even as we get others getting on board, I want to invite our very own Coach Isabella. You can take it over from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Matthew. Thank you so much for the opportunity you've given us. Indeed, the 4 weeks have flown by. It feels like we started yesterday and here we are. But that's what happens with time. I'm sure we've gotten a lot of value from what Allan Bukusi has been sharing with us. So before I invite Allan, I would like to just engage, because we're not so many, if we can just give a brief of our experience. We've been here maybe... Okay, somebody's mic needs to be muted. Thank you. Yeah, so I was saying we are not so many. So so that we know, we can give our trainer a head start. Kindly just share your experience. What has your experience been the last 3 weeks, the last 4 weeks, the last 2 weeks, the last 1 week, depending on where you began the journey with us. Let's just hear your feedback and then we can invite Allan. Volunteer? Or can I point out you can even write on the chat. You can unmute yourself or write on the chat if you're not in a position to speak directly. Charles, can you start us off? Or Robert? Charles, Robert? You can see Robert is not here. Okay, yeah, Robert is here. Jacqueline. Charles, are you there? Okay, Robert, are you there? All right, Jacqueline, are you there? Am I audible? Am I audible? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, so Charles says you're not in a position to speak. Okay, so what we do is we wait for your feedback. Feedback is very important. It is important for Allan to know, how the 3 weeks have been for you, so that, it's helpful as a trainer. It's helpful to know. So feedback is very important. So I believe much as we have gone silent, I believe by the end of the session, we will be able to give him feedback so that, he can know how to, if we get another chance, maybe in the future, what to expect, to also know whether what he prepared has worked for him. Somebody to mute us. Okay. All right. So Allan, I believe we'll get feedback by the end of the session. So we can just bring you on. You can share with us, even as we, we are really expectant in this session. So karibu sana.
Thank you. Thank you, Isabella. Thank you, Matthew. And it's been a great 3 weeks. This is the 4th week, and we're closing the session. So I really want to say thank you for this opportunity to have spoken into your lives in one way or another. I know that we're also live, and therefore there are people who have been out there and have been able to contact us and say something about the program. We want to thank you so much in doing so. Now, just because it's the season, we're coming to the end of the year. And so there's a lot of festivity going on. And I want to take this opportunity to wish you a good end of the year. Also want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I've attended a few parties from companies and organizations who are having goats and nyama choma. And I'm sure in the next 2 weeks, starting from this weekend, I think, up to the end of the year, almost every weekend we'll have some sort of event. So do enjoy yourselves, be careful, and get yourselves ready for a new year. And so with that, I want to say thank you once again, and I pray that God will bless this session, and as we go into the future, we'll have learned something. All right, I think that's a good place to introduce my topic for today. And I'm going to talk about a house, a spouse, and a cow. And that doesn't sound, may not sound very well coordinated, a house, a spouse, and a cow. But it is a topic that has been very keen to me because the advice was given to me a long time ago by my father, just like Matthew's been talking about his advice given to him. There's some sort of advice that comes to us and lives with us, and we get to know how powerful it is much later in life. Now, if you're following through with us on this particular program, I would like to encourage you to go back to the others in the series because it builds on that. And this is a summary that will allow us to sort of put our thoughts together and say, how do we go forward? So I'm going to share some slides, but I'm also going to ask you to reflect on the issues a little bit. So if you are near your keyboard, I'd ask you to type in some reflections as to what we see. So if I think I should be able to share my screen, if I have that permission, I'd like to start with a little bit of advice that was given to me by my father many years ago. And here it is. Let me see. Okay. I think I'm able to share. So I'm on the screen now. And here we go. Here we go. Okay, Matthew, the one who has been answering, you can see, everybody can see what I'm doing.
Yes, we can.
All right. Excellent. Okay, so here's the word of advice that was given to me many years ago, just as I started my career. And my father said to me, "Young man, you have done well. You have finished school and got yourself a job. Now, I want you to do these 3 things. First, build a house. Second, marry a wife, a good woman. And third, buy a cow and bring it here for me to look after." Now, you know, in modern parlance, that looks very traditional. It looks very outside of the norm. It's not modern. It's probably historic. Now, when you have words like this, they don't really mean much when you see them the first time. But after you think about them for a while, they begin to sink in. And this is exactly what happened to me as I reflected on this. Now, I'd like you to do something for me in the chat, and think about if you were the one who had been told these words, what would stand out for you? What would stand out for you? Okay, so I'm going to just give you 30 seconds to look at that and type in something in the chat that as you read these words, young man, you have done well. You have finished school and got yourself a job. Now I want you to do these 3 things. First, build a house. Second, marry a wife, a good woman. And if you're a woman, I'd say look for a good man. And third, buy a cow and bring it here for me to look after. What would you think? I want to make this session extremely interactive, and questions can come in at any time. But let me leave that up for 30 seconds and see what comes up in the chat, and then we'll proceed from there. Okay, got one response there. Okay, I got two. So it's the house and the cow that are critical here. Very interesting. Build a house. Yes, Karen says build a house. Right. Build a house. Okay. Okay. So you can keep them coming, but let's just think about that for a moment. I'll stop sharing and now start talking about the house. Now, you know, as a young person, you're probably not thinking about these things, you know. You're not thinking about this. You're thinking about the money, you're thinking about the job, and it's coming, and all of this money is coming, and you've finished school, and your dad is happy, and your family is happy. In fact, they had a graduation party for you, and they said, wow, this is great. And then, you know, at the end of the party, and you're about to go for the job, and you sat down and you're told, build a house, a cow, and a wife. Man, I'm even not ready to get married. What is the problem? Now, this is career advice, and that you'd want to think about and try to figure out why this advice was given. Now, let's start with the house, because a house is an entity that we all live in throughout life. And so I did build a house in the village. You know, I was staying in the village, and I was teaching not too far away from home, or at least where I had built my house. And so it served as a residence and very comfortable, and everything was going well in terms of going to school, coming home. In my own house as a bachelor, you know, you cook your own food and you basically look after yourself. The house itself was an updated one. It had bricks. You know, in those days, they used to have mud huts. So you'd have, most of the people in the village had mud huts. But here I was, a school teacher. I was able to build a house which was brick, all right? And so it was something of a phenomenon in the village. After all, I have gone up a status in society. I had a job, I had a good education, and therefore I was able to stand out. Now, that's what's going to happen to you when you get a job. You will be able to stand out. People will talk about you as having a job, and your social status will be raised in society that you are living. So, and even in Nairobi, when you have a house, I'm telling you, or whichever city you are, if you own the house, you're probably a fairly privileged person. I was very surprised that there are less than 40,000 mortgages in the country, in Kenya at the point. And there was some point, I was like, only 40,000. How many millions of people do we have? And we only have 40,000 mortgages. Now, of course, that's in the city, but of course, in the village, everybody more or less owns their property. However, 40,000 is a very small number and a very significant number at that, okay? And I think I was able to find out why, because when I came to the city after being in the village for about 5 years, I came to town and I got a job that was paying me 6 times as much as I was in the village, right? But, you know, I was earning more money, but I was having less cash. And, you know, one day I sat down and started to figure out what is it that is causing me to have less money. And so I took out my budget sheet and I worked out my expenses, my transport, my food. And guess what? My biggest single expense was rent. Now, that's when it struck me that a house is a very important thing, because 40% of my income was actually going to the rent. Now, if you are able to find a way in which you can capture all of that 40% that is leaking by owning the property, you can become a wealthy person, if you like, because you have 40% income. So it becomes a priority to be able to live in a house in which you own. Why? Because all that money that will be going out to pay out rent will be coming back to you as a landlord. So it's a very important thing to think about. Your hard-earned sweat, your energy that you put in, and it comes back to you. Okay, so that's what the house story is about. Now, notice it is not a house in the village, because each of us, from the day we die, from the day we are born until the day we die, we were going to live in a house. Now, if you're going to live in a house, you might as well own it. And so that wisdom makes a tremendous amount of sense. Okay, and just build a house. Now, Karen, may I ask you a question and see, does that make sense to have a house, to build a house? Okay, if you're in a position to speak. Okay, all right. So Ngeno says there that great advice. He was interested in production, a cow and a woman for production. I think that probably means reproduction. And the house was for responsibility. Now, in African society, I do agree with you, Ngano, that indeed it is something very, very important that you are seen as a responsible person if you have a house. If you didn't have a house, you'd be moving around in society. Now, we have come into a modern age. You've come into town. You have come into circumstances. I'm giving you the financial wisdom of actually owning a house. Yeah. And Karen agrees with me there. Sure, a house seems like a critical part of development. Now, why do we take so much time to be able to buy a house or to build a house or to get a mortgage? Because we don't see it as priority, and because we can afford the amount of money that you pay in rent. But sum up the amount of rent you pay in a year, and for 5 years, you'll find that there's enough money that's passing through your hands to be able to pay at least a down payment on that particular mortgage. Okay, so let me leave that house there. If you have any more questions on the house, let's go on. And then there is a spouse. Yeah, now a spouse, a house, a spouse. The book is actually talk about a house, a spouse, and a cow. But you see, I'm a man. So when my dad was telling me you should marry a wife, then, you know, it made a lot of sense. In my humble opinion and humble assessment, a husband and wife are the most productive business unit on earth. I want you to think about that statement. They're the most productive business unit on earth. In fact, God made man and woman, and he put them together and said, work. I don't think there's any other more productive business unit on earth. So my secret to you this evening is that if you have a job and you have a wife and you have a husband, your spouse, I charge you, if I may be allowed to do so, work with your spouse and you will see phenomenal return on any investments or any activities that you get out there to do. Why? Because if you like, I would say it is God ordained. Now, that doesn't mean if your spouse doesn't work with you, God can't make you rich. But especially you talk to people who have created wealth, they will always honor their spouse and say, you know, my husband did, oh, my wife did. If we hadn't worked together, this would not have been possible. So that's one of the secrets of getting wealthy. The first one is the house. You become responsible. You own a property. You raise up in society. But when you have a spouse, you get twice as much input, twice as much effort is put into your work. I mean, who doesn't like somebody to work with them and share their ideas and come up with brilliant ways of doing things? Now, the added benefit of a house of a spouse is that you actually reproduce. Now it's built in. That's why I'm saying it's even built into the biology. You have a very important role to play. Now I hear many men and women saying, my money is mine and mine is mine. And, you know, you're just tearing down your house. You're just tearing down your wealth bracket or your wealth formula, because you are taking up things, or you're refusing to participate in the process that would actually create wealth. Okay, so think about it, right? A couple can eat off one plate. They can live in one house. When they were living in two, they can come together. They drink one soda and with two straws, you know, and they'll be satisfied, and they'll be happy. They can agree to cut their expenses and put aside savings. Today, I know there are arguments about rights and roles and responsibilities in marriage. His money is our money and my money is mine. That's the wife speaking. I challenge you, stop thinking about this and try and create a way in which you can create the value. Because if your husband is working and he brings in the money and you make a good job of finishing it without thinking about the future, you're actually wasting the resources that are in. This is not to say that that's only the woman's position. Sometimes the men are not interested in developing the home, and maybe, you know, you get into bad routines and things that derail your family income, and at the end of the day you lose out. Okay, so I'm not going to judge between men and women. What I am saying is that a marriage is a blessed union. Yeah, because it's unfortunate that these arguments about money or incomes or careers often have a direct and damaging impact on the family financial status and acquisition of wealth. So find a good spouse. That's why I said, I think my dad said he knew it. He said, you know, make sure it's a good spouse, make sure it's a good husband, make sure it's a good wife. Again, I'm not a marriage counselor. I can't tell you where to find them, but you be the good one. Then attract the other person as well and work out wealth strategy that will be able to unfold before your eyes so that you use your incomes especially well. Now, I did talk about the employment being the biggest employer in Africa, $2.7 trillion just turning over. And we're talking about 350 million employees, and they should be earning anything between 500,000 and 900,000 Kenya shillings, that is, on an annual basis. How many families see that kind of money? Now, it's my guess that they will not make use of that because they do not honor that relationship of working together. You multiply. Half your expense, double your income. That means the power of productivity is raised to the power 4, not squared, to the power 4. And that's a very powerful thing. So if there are husbands out there, if there are wives out there, I tell you, work with your spouse. Okay. Now I noticed in the chat nobody talked about the spouse. Oh yes. Ngeno did. Says a cow and a woman for production, right? You know, you produce, and you know, it's so powerful, because then you can replicate the model of the family and the children and the generation. So wealth is generational, and the generation is created by the relationship between the man and spouse. Okay, so let's talk about the cow, because the cow appears in the chat. Let me see how many times. At least twice. And Irungu says the concept is quite profound and well understood. Thanks, Irungu, for that. Now, a cow. You know, if you live in Kenya or you live in Africa, the cow is not a strange being. It kind of walks around and eats grass and does its own job. And there's maybe a shepherd standing at a corner at a vantage point and just looking. And that shepherd is usually not the owner of the cows. The owner of the cows maybe lives somewhere else, is in town, and the cow is just grazing. All right. And once it grazes, you know, it will create milk, and people at home can take the milk and drink it. And so that's why probably my father was saying, bring the cow, because he's going to benefit from the milk. But, you know, after a couple of years, you know, the cow reproduces and becomes 2 cows, right? And maybe a couple of years more, the 2 cows become 4. And within 5 or 6 years, you can have 10, a good herd of cows. Now you started with 1. And this is where I agree with you, the power of investment. The power of investment. You just put that investment in one area so that it becomes a cash cow for you. So the cow in the modern times is a cash cow. We're talking about investments, we're talking about shares, we're talking about properties that appreciate in value, we're talking about insurance policies that allow you to create a project, we're talking about businesses that you put down and you put in seed capital and you start your own small business, and as it grows on its own. I've seen a lot of people who have taken out seed capital from their employment and put it into a small business and grown that small business. And they don't have to wait for retirement. They get to a point where they step out of the job and start running the business. Now, we said the purpose of enterprise is to create wealth. The purpose of employment is to create wealth for you. So that should always be at the back of your mind that, hey, where's my cow? Where's my business? Where's my investment? That's yielding that 5%, that 10%, that savings, because that small savings is so important in the long run, because after 5 or 10 years, that value will increase. I can tell you, people who bought land 10 years ago are smiling all the way to the bank, if you want to put it that way, because the value of the land has appreciated 10 or times. Okay, so if you have shares in your cooperative and you've been consistent, your value goes up. That's the cow I'm talking about. And that's why the cow is so important. Okay, any reactions to my cow story and my spouse story? Okay, any thoughts? Please feel free to say something if you want to comment.
Allan?
Yes.
Maybe you can clarify on the bit of the spouse, because you said work together, so that it's not people don't feel the pressure of, okay, do you mean literally like they have to own a business together, or is it putting their resources together? Please clarify on that, so that people don't live here with different perspectives.
Great. I say work together. Either you sit down, you may be in different jobs, but you sit down and discuss what the finances are going to look like. You may decide as a family that we are going to open a business, and you see very many husband-wife businesses. I'm sure in your area, you'll find that the husband is doing the hardware and the lady is doing the back office or the accounts. And many family businesses are actually born from the cooperation between the husband and the spouse. But what I have seen is that most people believe that this should be separate. My money is my money and your money is your money. Or I have my own separate account and I do my own things, and please don't ask me anything. Okay? So I think it's very important to realize that when I'm saying simply work together, spouse, all right, I only said for me, a man, wife, but if you're a lady, then your husband. So work with your spouse, because your spouse may be, and I say this is very certain, is the key to the multiplication of the resources within the family. If the two are working together, you can get phenomenal growth. And I don't mind saying this. A lot of Asian businesses, if you look at them, they're husband and wife teams that have started up and have worked together. And I think we in Africa have to also pick up on some of these ideals, that it's not a fight, it's not a separation of resources, but let's put our resources together and create the value that's with us. Okay. Okay, thank you. I see Karen has said, I think a cow and a spouse gives a sense of commitment to a person. Wow, I never thought of that. Maybe that's another way of looking at it. Because once you have given of your resources, that's a powerful observation indeed, Karen, that you actually show your love, your commitment to the union by saying, here are my resources, let's work together. Okay, and the husband puts them on the table, the wife puts them on the table, and say, "This is what I got from the work today. I got it from the job. How do we invest this?" It's such a powerful thing. Naum says, "I like the way you have used the cow in place of the many ways to create wealth." Okay, so yeah, I hope this Christmas, when you go, buy the chicken, buy the goat, and leave it for your parents to look after. I'm sure they'll be really excited that you've come. And tell them not to eat the chicken or the goat. Tell it, I want to find it there next Christmas with 2 or 3 kids or something. All right. All right, Jacqueline says, remember not to invite your village to celebrate with you because you bought a cow and killed a cow for them to eat in the celebration. Yes, please be careful for that, at least not this Christmas. Okay, now let me go back to my PowerPoint again and share some briefly some other aspects that I think will help us bring this to a close. Now I keep losing whether I'm actually sharing or not. Let me see if I can share my screen. I think I've lost rights. Isabel, can you check out and see?
Yes, Allan?
Yes. Am I still able to share? I'm trying to see if I have rights for share. Here I go. Yes, here I am.
Okay.
Okay. So we've looked at the first slide there, and we've talked about African wisdom and sort of saying what you get from your resources when you bring it home. How does it work for you? Now, I want to give you some ideas of how to prosper in the biggest industry in Africa. And we are obviously at different points in our careers. Keep the questions coming. I'll go back to the chat in a minute. And I'm saying, and you're saying, some people are talking about retirement. Some people are talking about when I get a good job. Some people are thinking about, how do I best work with what I have? Now, here's a general guide I'd like to leave with you with the results with regards to employment. Now, if you're in your 20s, when you think about your first 3 years on the job, please don't get too fixed, unless you are, if you're in medicine, then you'll go directly into medicine, or if you're in some profession that's so directed. But for many of us, we'll take about 2 to 3 years looking around, learning how to work and developing a positive attitude to the opportunities that we have. You may find yourself doing a messengerial job, an administrative clerk, and nobody's recognizing your CPA. You've done marketing, maybe you've done finance, and your qualifications, and you may not quite fit into a job that is tailored to what you believe. Now, this is a time when I'd encourage you in your 20s to take on every opportunity that is availed to you and work at it with, with all the energy that you have. And I'm talking about a positive attitude, because that's the long-term return from your 20s. So if you're in your 20s, develop money management skills, budgeting. We went over budgeting in the previous session, right? Not just transport, food, and clothes and entertainment, but also think about saving and education. Put some money, invest in your education. Maybe if you're doing CPA 1, you need to move to CPA 2. You've done insurance courses and you need to develop these skills. So career qualifications and competencies, I should have put that word there. Qualifications and competencies are very important, and you need to develop a savings discipline. Now, in your 20s, that can be pretty tough, because there are a lot of attractions at 20 years old with money in your pocket, and all the world is offering you all these options. But this is the time in which you sharpen your wealth creation skills. Now, if you're in your 30s, I want you to capitalize your earnings in the most strategic, because it's the most strategic phase of your career. In your 30s, you've probably had a job for 5 or so years, and suddenly it's dawning on you that you have money in your hands, but you don't seem to be developing. Now, put that money in a mortgage, in a strategic insurance product. Buy some land. You may not have the whole capital available immediately to do it in your 30s, but select some suitable enterprises. Start a small business. Go to some corner of Kenya where land is still cheap, and buy land. You notice I'm still talking about this land issue. I'll tell you why I'm talking about the land issue, and I keep going, because in Africa there is no such thing as social security. And if there's no social security, they don't give you bonus payments, dole payments where if you're not employed, we pay you. The only social security there is in Africa, I tell you, is land. Because on land, you can put your farm. On land, you can build your house. On land, if you seclude it, you can sit and nobody will come and disturb you. So it's something that is a major aspect of life or employment in Africa. So select a suitable enterprise that will pay you back many times over, all right? Work towards realizing your career dreams. And you're in your 30s is when you begin to, if I would say, bloom and focus, and we begin to see you as a specialist. So invest your energies there. Now, in your 40s, please complete capitalizing your income. Now, I talked about capitalizing income earlier, but what that means is that, you should be able to see the results of what has come into you over the years. There must be, what's the money on the table? You've earned an income of 10,000 shillings for the past 10 years. That tells me that you should have at least 12 million shillings, or 12, something like 12,000 to 120,000 shillings. If you're talking about 1 year, if you earn 10,000 for 1 year, that's 120,000. If you worked it for 10 years, you've had 1.2 million. Okay, you've worked 10 years. So if I take 1.2 million that you've earned, where is it? Where can I see it? Is it in an asset? What is its practicality? Okay. So at this point, housing is urgent. And your financial inflows are peaking in your 40s. But remember, you're probably married at this time and you have children who are going to school. So you have a lot of money, but you also have a lot of expenses. And so you see the wisdom of investing in your 20s and in your 30s, so that their income that would have been, that is making a return, will help you in your 40s. Because the 40s is a lot of expenses. Okay? Critical point there. Let me check. I see something in the chat here that's in there. All right. Would you advise those starting in their youth to focus on investments that give them cash flow, or is it better to go for capital appreciation? Jacqueline, if you can do both, I'm happy. If you can do both, I am happy. If you can have that small business that increases your cash flow, that's great. But that also increases your cash flow for capital, for savings, for the cooperative. That money can go into those. What I would emphasize, Jacqueline, is that it's very important to develop that money management mindset. What many people in their 20s have is that, wow, I'm earning this money, I've finished school, and it's all mine, so I can do what I want. And 5 years down the line, you have blown so much cash that you wonder, man, I wish I had taken some time to save some of it. So yes, you're with me, Jacqueline. Thank you very much. Okay. So if you are in your 50s, and I'm not sure we have anybody in the 50s here, but 50s is, again, a very important area. You're, if you like, on the other side of the hill, like me, and therefore not everybody's excited when you walk into the interview room and you say you're 54. They're like, okay, what are you doing here? Or what should you have been doing? So by this time, the funds that are coming into you have been saved in your 20s and your 30s, and your investments are in place. And you're looking at mobilizing how to create more on the farm, how to generate more from your cows. And we have seen that cows are now investments that we have. You may have bought one house, so you may want to buy another. I got a very interesting story from Rwanda, from one of my readers. And he said to me, I read your book, and a house, a spouse, and a cow was the most important. Now, my wife gave me this book, and she told me, let us put it into practice. So what he did, he put into the principles of saving and putting a cooperative. And they bought a cow. They literally bought a cow, literally. All right. And then he started to build a house. Now, with his income, obviously, now he's not paying rent. He's in his 30s now. He's building a second house, and they have 3 children, and they have 8 cows. Now, if you're in a different country, you might not really understand the dynamics of a cow in Rwanda. The period in which they had a genocide caused a lot of poverty. And so just having milk in a home is a really powerful thing. So it became a physical illustration. Now, according to my analysis, that gentleman is very far ahead because he's going to rent the house. In other words, he's already operating in a 50s mode, and he's 33 actually. Okay, because he took the sense of putting these principles in place. Now, what's important about this is that please don't wait until you're 20. Don't wait until you're 30 to start these strategies. Start them where you are and start using them to make a difference. So if you do have a business and you've been thinking, let it just stay, or there's a piece of land that you have and you're saying, let it just stay, or there's some savings that you have been using and you have not put it in the cooperative, please put it in there. Put in the energy, put it in the cooperative, buy the shares in the cooperative, get the insurance scheme that is going to give you a lump sum maybe in 5 years or 10 years. And there are very many schemes now in the insurance companies as they create new products for this modern age. And if you're in your 60s, oops, I think I've lost you there. And if you're in your 60s, man, don't give up. If you've still got time. All of these things depend on God's grace. And so those are the broad strategies I have in place, but you can implement them at absolutely any time, and they will begin to get results for you. Okay, so here's my parting shot, and then I'll open it up for questions here. What have we learned? We've learned how to understand the employment environment. Okay, the employment environment is dynamic. And there used to be permanent and pensionable jobs in historical times, and not too long ago, that was last century. But in this century, the environment has changed. COVID-19 has changed a lot of things, and people don't have that level of job security. And so we need to be more deliberate. We need to be very deliberate and very specific as to how we use our employment opportunity. Many people lost jobs. So if you do have a job, please understand the purpose of enterprise, and the purpose of employment is to create wealth for you and your family and to your posterity. Okay, so think with that mindset. Remember that employment is a partnership, a profit-generating partnership, a wealth-creating partnership between you and your employer. You took yourself there, your employer hired you, they gave you a job, you become the most productive. Okay, second, I'd say develop your career. Realize your full potential. I mean, this is your life, right? So don't wait until some gift lands on your table. Take your gift that you have, your abilities, your interests, and your talents, and make them work for you. And by the time you're in your 30s, you should be saying, this is what I was born to do, this is what I'm doing, and this is how I'm going to do it. Now, remember, the young people always remind me, YOLO. YOLO means, someone's going to tell me that. It means you only live once, right? You only live once, and the opportunities that you have only come once. So please make some way of creating value from your employment. And then use your talents, put them into the job. And if your job is not using them, find some way to deploy them. Don't wait until you're 50 or you're 30 or find some way to use your talents, because that is the resource, that is the capital that you have to create wealth. Your expertise, your education, your experience, your exposure is a very powerful tool. Number 3, manage your money. Use it to accumulate assets. If you don't manage your money, you're going to be in trouble for a long time, because the money will keep coming in and it will keep going out. Now, I think it was the 3rd video we were talking about money matters, how to manage that money. It comes in at the end of the month, use it effectively, plan for your operational expenses, but also for your development and strategic development expenses as well, and wealth creating expenses, savings and investments and projects. These are what will drive your wealth creating competence. And then number 4, multiply your income from your assets. From the first house, you get your second house, and get a third house. That's one way of doing it. That's why we're talking about the cow. Okay. All right, thank you. That's where I am. I'm in the chat here, seeing if there's anything else. I'm here. I'm an insurance agent for those strategic insurance products. Feel free to call me on 0727-736-320. We'll serve you right. So Naum is doing a bit of marketing. Great job there. We'll probably be able to help me explain some of the strategic products. I don't know if Isabella will give us permission to see what you have to say about that. Now, you want to say something about that? Okay, I'm not sure it's here online. Okay. All right. This number says, remember the parable of the talents. That's all we need for proper financial management. Money too can be a talent used wisely. Yes, I certainly agree with you that it's important that you use your money as a talent. The parable of the talents, I think, that is referring to about the three servants who are given different amounts of money. One was given 1 talent, or let's call it 1,000 shillings. Another was given 2 talents, 2,000 shillings, and another was given 5. Now, as it normally happens in life, and this is really very strange, it's the people who have more, like the 5 talents, that's the person who went and invested and multiplied the money and was able to create wealth. But the people who have little always say, you know what, this is too little. I mean, let me finish this one. When I get more, I will save. No, it's what you have that you use. And it's the principle that is the same. The talent in that parable of talents, the person who had 2 talents, or we can call it for our purposes, 2,000 shillings, was also able to double their income. So the first had 5, he brought 10. The second had 2, he brought 4. But the master congratulated both of them equally because they had used their talents according to their abilities and produced results. However, the person who had 1,000 shillings decided, you know, what can I do with 1,000 shillings? You know, this is too little money. I mean, if I had more, so, you know, just keep it. When the boss comes, I'll give it back to him. And he was actually, the talent was taken from him and said, look, because you are unable to use this money, I'm going to give it to somebody who can. By the way, you know, that reminds me, or rather, I think it's the gentleman whoever asked that question. It reminds me that right now we're in a season where there's a lot of high expenditure as clients and companies try to use the money before the end of the year. Now, the reason is that if they were not able to use the money this year, the departments was not able to use the money at the close of this year, when the budgeting is done the next year, they'll be told, we gave you money, you didn't use it, so we'll give you less. So it's the same principle. And probably God is looking down at you. I gave you all these opportunities in 2022, and you haven't used them. Why should I give you any more in 2023? Maybe we cut it in half and see if it's necessary. Great point. Neno says, kindly, if you can repeat a bit on budgeting. Okay, I just want to point you to make sure you have the previous, I think it's the previous video where we talked about money in detail. But what is the standard or the general format of a budget? People in their heads have something like, I need to budget my food, my transport, my rent, and entertainment. And those 4 elements are very prominent in people's budgets. But if you look at those, a budget which has food, rent, clothing, expenses, and entertainment, you don't see any development. So in order to be able to benefit from the money that you do earn, you must add there an element of savings. And you must also add an element of investment. And you must also add an element of a project that you are working on. so that as the money comes in, it allows you are using it on those particular projects. So, for example, if we say that you're earning 10,000 shillings, you can use it all, and we've just lost power, so that's why the lights are off. So I'll try and speak without too much light. Okay, so the reason why okay, we're back on the lights. Now, the reason, if you're earning 10,000 shillings, you can spend all of it on food, rent, clothing, and entertainment. And so the next month you'll be in the same position. But if you say, look, I'm going to use only 5,000 shillings on food, rent, transport, and entertainment. The other 5, there's a project I have been working on in saving some money, 1,000 shillings every month. All right. And there's investment in shares or insurance that I need to set aside. So I take 1,000 and put it aside. I also need to do some giving. So I've been working on some project of giving to a church project or something. So I take another 1,000. Do you see? I hope you can see, that your budget is now becoming an operational tool, but it's also become a strategic tool where it influences the aspects that create wealth. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Ngano. All right, Isabella, let me hand over back to you so that you can see. Here's one more before you come in, Isabella. I can read this one. Would you please address consumerism as a cancer to financial discipline in the modern time? Many are being brainwashed, mismanaging our finances through greenwashing advertising that keep many in a cycle of a spending cycle. I couldn't agree with you more. But you know what? I'll go back to budgeting here. If you don't have a plan, the marketers and the advertisers have a plan for your money. Okay? And that's where the heart of consumerism is. We know that you have money that you have not planned for. So they will show you a brand new soap. They will show you a great new glass that has 4 corners. They will show you a pen that you don't own because it's the latest in the market. And suddenly you'll say, that looks nice. And you remove the money and you buy something you don't even need. You don't even want it. But because you didn't have a plan for the money that you have, you are caught in the consumerism trap. And once you're caught in the consumerism trap, you have to fight your way out. Now, how do you fight your way out? Start planning for your money before you get it. And that, let me say, we've just come through the end of the month now, and you probably see the number of cars on the road and the amount of shopping that's going on, and you wonder, where were these people all this time? Most of the time, it's because they didn't have money. That's why they were not out there. But if you plan for your money before you get it, you can avoid the end month rush. You can plan to have your resources paid off gradually during the month. And then you avoid the consumerism trap. Like, wow, the new socks. And have you got this, it's just come into the market. And I always get surprised by people who say, just because it has come into the market does not mean you must have it. All right. Just because it's the latest doesn't mean that you've got to buy it. All right. So do you have a plan for your money? And the warning is, if you don't have a plan for your money, somebody else has. And that guy is called the marketer. And that billboard which says, spend 100 shillings so you can save 5. Now, that doesn't make sense to me. But if you didn't have a plan, you'll fall for it. Spend 100 shillings so that you have 5 shillings savings on every expense. You will fall for that trap. All right, that's what I can say for that. Over to you, Isabella.
Thank you so much, Allan. Thank you so much for taking us through meticulously and, in a very in-depth way about a house, a cow, and a spouse. I believe we have understood well, going by the questions that people were asking and the engagement. Now I want to open it up. If you have a question, not just from today's session, but from any other session you've been thinking about, or you just want a clarification on, you can ask live, or you can post on the chat. So anybody, any questions raised, any comments? I have put, if you want to listen to more of what Allan Bukusi has been teaching us about, I've put a link to a channel there. If you click on that link, you'll find more videos that he has done on employment. We are calling it the Employee Personal Development Series. So I'm sure you'll find more information and a lot of value from the topics I have shared. These are not the only topics, there's a lot more, but you need to go to the YouTube channel to check for yourself. This coming week, there's something Allan will be sharing on about what happens when your employer does not pay you enough. The way you say, my boss doesn't pay me enough money. So if you want to know what Allan says about that particular situation, this coming week on Tuesday, he will be sharing. I'm sure that will be something that you'd want to know, what happens when you are not paid enough by your employer. So those are the kind of videos that you will find. So this is not the end. Continue interacting with Allan. I'm also going to share with you his blog post link so that you can also continue interacting with him. So let me know if there are any more questions, or should we close at this? Should I hand over to Matthew at this point? Thank you, Ngeno. Thank you, Ngeno, for the acknowledgement or appreciation. Thank you so much. Any question, any comment? It doesn't have to be a question. It can also be a comment. Okay, Matthew, thank you so much for giving us the platform to, for hosting as well for the last 4 weeks. Thank you so much. I believe we have drawn a lot of value from what Allan has been sharing. And I believe that the members who tuned in, and even those who are going to tune in much later, because the videos are on the RMP YouTube channel, I'm sure they're going to find value as well. So from me, I wish you all the best. Go and conquer in your employment. I know we have been equipped to now know how to be prosperous in employment. All right, Matthew.
I'm not sure Matthew is in.
Okay. Yeah, the world is changing. There are new opportunities for those who are ready to join forces with those who are stronger and experienced. I agree. That's true. Okay, here, Matthew is here. All right, Matthew. Asante sana for giving us the platform. I don't know if you got that bit of appreciation. And now I'm handing over the meeting to you.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry I got thrown out. So I've just found my way back. So I think you may have said several things that I missed, but not a problem. I'll be able to listen in. Yeah, the last 5 minutes, I think I have had a bit of a challenge. Yeah, otherwise, it's been a great privilege having you. Thank you for accepting to use our platform. Now that, the digital space, everybody has, you can just go and create your own platform. So just being kind and just using our platform, engaging my audience, the ROMP. I think we feel honored. It was a great privilege. Yeah, the engagement has been awesome. I think there's been a lot of learning. You can judge that from the, the texts and what have you. And I think for the audience, this is what I would say, that you realize that there's a lot of wealth in terms of, what you're learning or what we are learning. And this is not a classroom, so there will not be an exam after this. For your child, if you have one, like me, or your brother or sister or yourself, when you go to any classroom or majority of classrooms, you are issued with a test after that. That's the way that the teacher checks whether you are following, whether they have added value, whether basically it was a waste of time, sheer waste of time, or it is something that was worthwhile. So it is good for you. So you are tested, but it's also good for the teacher. They are also getting feedback. Now, in a setting like this where there is really a lot that is being learned, but there is nothing, like an exam. So how do we, how does this play?
Matthew,
I can tell you, yes.
Yes, if you just allow me to answer that, there is an exam.
Okay, in fact, that's where I was coming, but yes, please tell us, what is the exam?
There is an exam, and you will be the judge whether you pass it or fail it, because now you have this information, and if you do not save, and you've had saving being put to you for all 4 weeks, you will mark your own exam. Yes, I just wanted to put that in.
I tell you, I totally agree. Actually, that's the point I was coming to. Yeah, I think you have put it now in different words. So what I wanted to say is that, yes, now that there is no exam, the only way you can test whether there was learning that took place is, have you implemented anything that that has been taught? So basically, it's self-evaluation. That's the only way you will justify the bundles, the time, and being accountable, even as a good steward. So yes, I agree with Mr. Bukusi. There is an exam, and this is even a tougher one, because this one, there's nobody marking, telling you have scored 5 and celebrating you. It's you. It's you. And it's life, actually. It's life judging you or judging me. So I think we have, we got a very high responsibility to be able to, to run with what we have picked. Firstly, for us, I can tell you, it's for us. Maybe 99% is for me, is for you. And then maybe the remaining percent is for Bukusi here, so that next time he can get encouragement when he meets you along the way, and you are like, my life got transformed the day I heard you say. He gets fuel for the next session, for the next person. Yeah, so, but I think the biggest beneficiary definitely would be ourselves. So thank you very much, Mr. Bukusi. I think I would love to have this again, maybe in the coming year sometime. We could package something that is a bit different. I was also happy. I had shared with Isabella that I wanted to, I've been working towards changing the way we had structured our program. And this has been a good way of doing it. And my audience, if you are there, 20 of us or thereabout, please tell me, because 2023 will be different. I know 2022 we have taken a long break, but 2023 we want to now get such kind of programs. This will be the new normal in the sense that unlike earlier where I would invite random guests speaking on random topics, now we will be having guests like Allan here speaking on a topic for a series. Maybe 4 might be the minimum, and we could be having some going longer. We have there's quite an entry of several things that we have worked on. I have some. This we were talking about career. There is a whole series on entrepreneurship for those who would be interested. It's coming up in 2023. There's a whole series on personal development. Those soft issues, soft skills. There's another one on personal finance management. closely related to this, but now delving deeper into the issues of budgeting, savings, investment, and all that. Several different, like 5, 6 broad areas, and then talking of other soft issues and are very critical, like premarital counseling, that are still very important for the youths. Like we have a whole 10 topics, program to work with those youths who are here now. Their main problem right now is, how do I transition from singlehood to marriage, and what do I need to know? So we have those coming. I would love to see in the chat, and if you can give me feedback, it will be great. How do you find the new structure? Do you want us there to be doing? I still have access to the great speakers that we hosted, especially part of this year, last year, and 2020. The likes of Dr. Mutua, Ezekiel, PLO Lumumba. I still have access to them, and I could invite them once in a while, or even every day if that's the way you would want. But so do you want those one-offs, or do you want somebody like Bukusi who comes and takes you through stuff? Let me see some chats. It helps me in making decisions, and also packaging things that are relevant. If I can see a few chats, like 2, 3, 4, 5, then we'll call it a day. Or if somebody wants to unmute and just give some feedback. What do you think? How do you think we should take 2023? Or should we just drop this thing? People have already been educated so much from 2020. It's a lot. In fact, if you go to our online channels, you will find maybe like 200 sessions, different, talking of different things. I think it's a lot of information. Maybe it's time we stopped and tell people, go there and feed. It's enough. So what do you think? Yeah, the Bukusi style is quite impressive. Naum, thank you for the feedback. I want to see a great plan for 2023. Career is a good one, plus relationship series is good. Great. Thank you, Ngeno. I think if I get 1 or 2 more, I'll. And anyway, any insights?
Maybe I can go there, boss.
Awesome. Go ahead, Robert.
Thank you. So I would advocate for doing a hybrid of both, like a series on, like we've done on finance is also important, and entrepreneurship, that will be powerful. I know it will have very many people. Then for the daily ones, so somebody comes to present on a topic like a motivational speaker, it makes all the difference. So you can do a hybrid.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Robert. I think you've been with us for the longest from 2020. You understand the sweetness of both. Thank you. I appreciate. And I've seen one more comment. Bukusi style is fine. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. And of course, I want to believe these comments represent the rest of us. Yeah, so keep tuned. I hope you are in our WhatsApp group. You'll be getting to hear from us. Of course, we are taking now a break for Christmas, but coming, I will be communicating before the end of the year. And yeah, one thing that we will do, and this one I will be very keen to do, is, I mean, we don't want to do, hit and runs, as I've said, is that we will also be a bit intentional in terms of ring fencing the people we are getting. I mean, we want to measure our success. We want to measure our, what value are we bringing on board? And therefore, for that reason, if you hear in the next one, we are telling you that the people who join the first session are the ones we will go with. So some of those ones we'll share links where you register, and then we follow through, so that we also don't have a situation where there's no problem with somebody coming to join on session 5, but sometimes it doesn't help. I mean, they are a bit lost. We'll see how we structure that. So that also we derive much value, and I mean, we are able to measure success. So that's one of the things. The second thing I will mention is that some of these, getting some of these speakers, definitely some of them is what they do for a living. So if I get somebody for 5 weeks in a row, I want us to move ROMP in 2023 will not be the kind of program where I just get speakers, they come, drain themselves, and then we tell them, thank you very much. No, I want to get away of appreciating them for sure. So some of them we will ask you to possibly get, changia, a way of appreciating. These 3 years I've been doing anything that is paid here, I pay it from my pocket. So of course 2023, if I'm gonna appreciate the speakers, then I will some programs, depending with who is offering it and how they want it to be done. Like Bukusi here offered it for free, and we really appreciate. There might be somebody who is like, I mean, for us to get them, we need to appreciate them, I mean, for their time. So I hope that's something that you will also be open to. And yes, I think it's not always that we need to continue getting things for free once in a while. If it's gonna be, I mean, it's benefiting us, maybe we also want to say thank you to the person who has played a role. We want to give to share and reach as many people as possible, but at the same time, we also want to not, also to appreciate those people who are giving themselves for us. I think that would be important. So thank you, Charles. I can see this series style is quite on winning and for growth. And I agree with Robert. Motivation session is good once in a while. Thank you. And Bidali says, this is my second time attending. Trust me, I learned a lot within those few days. I salute you and Mr. Allan. Thank you very much. Maybe Bidali is making a case for those ones who may miss the first session. Maybe we may want not to close them out. Maybe Bidali, you are right, possibly. But we will get mechanisms for follow-up so that we also don't just get hit and runs. Thank you very much. I think that's so much. Pastor Charles, I can see you are in the link. You can make a closing prayer for us. I don't know whether you are able to speak now. Charles?
Yes. Good evening.
Thank you.
Audible?
Hi.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. So let us have a word of prayer. Let us pray. Lord, we come before thy holy presence this evening. We thank you and we glorify your holy name for your goodness and for your mercies upon each and every one of us. We thank you for the session tonight and for the learning that we have indeed received from our mentors, from Sir Allan, and also for the whole series that has been happening for the last 4 weeks. We thank you for the much wisdom that we have gained. And Father, let us go out and put it into practice. And let us all be the winners and be successful in following all that we have learned. As much as Jehovah, we have received this knowledge, we also would like to thank our coach Matthew for offering this platform for us to learn and continue growing in our lives. We thank you, Jehovah, for enabling Royal Youth Mentorship to be where it is this day. And we pray that you will continue strengthening Royal Youth Mentorship and also the founder and the director, Coach Matthew, and all other mentors and all other players who come into the session to keep us motivated and to keep us, to keep giving knowledge unto us. I pray, Jehovah, that you bless each and every one of us this night. As we go into our resting and into the night, may you be with us and may you bless each and every one of us. Look unto our lives, Father, and meet our needs, Father, according to your will. And let us all enjoy in all ways that glorify your holy name. And it is in the mighty name of Jesus that we pray this, trusting and believing. Amen.
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 Amen. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening and please enjoy your Christmas. Merry Christmas. And let's see each other in the new year. But please keep tuned. Stay in the WhatsApp group. I'll be sharing as much as we'll not be having meetings. We will be hearing from us on the plans for 2023. Thank you very much. God bless you. And if you're not in the WhatsApp group, maybe I can share my number, or is there somebody who is already there in the WhatsApp group that I can share our link? You can send a WhatsApp message to that number and you will be able to, somebody will add you to the WhatsApp group. Thank you very much. Shalom.
Shalom. Bye.
and good night.